There's no reason for you to waste money on an expensive vacuum.
And that's why we wanted to share with you our top cheaper vacuums that we found at different price points.
Now we're gonna start off with the cordless category, and just to let you know, we actually purchase all of the vacuums with our own money, so we're broke, which means that if you purchase through the Amazon affiliate links, it actually helps us quite a bit and helps us remain independent. So in the cordless category, our favorite is the Dyson V11 Animal. It's a great vacuum. It does everything. It's super light, and it's about $600. What if we told you you could get a vacuum that is 80% as good for a quarter of the price?
Luckily you can. It's called the Black & Decker Powerseries Extreme, and my favorite feature of that vacuum actually has nothing to do with its suction or airflow or pickup capacity, which is all really good, and we're going to talk about that, but it's the fact that it can stand up by itself, a feature that is not even in the Dyson V11 for $600.
Dyson, we're talking to you.
Make it happen.
Now the other thing is that it has a really good brush roll on it, and it's very, very good on hardwood. Actually, it is better on carpet than the Dyson, I will give you that. It does have shorter battery life. Yeah, it's a little bit heavier, but can you imagine saving basically 75%? It is a quarter of the price of this. You could buy a bunch of the vacuums behind us with that extra money, or you could just pay rent.
A nice feature as well is that with the battery, you can actually plug into a bunch of different Black & Decker units, not just the vacuums.
We started the Vacuum Nerds because there are so many different vacuums available now for sale. It's actually really confusing, and our goal is to help you buy the right vacuum at the right price for your living situation. So the next category we're going to talk about is upright vacuums, which are really good sort of all around for a big house and carpets. But let's talk about why an upright vacuum is a good all around vacuum.
Now, what makes upright vacuums great is that they don't need a battery source for power. They plug directly in the wall, and that usually means that they have generally higher suction and airflow. In addition to that, usually their canisters are larger. So if you have a larger home or have a bigger mess, they tend to be a better alternative to cordless vacuums.
You get more features and you just get a lot more power at the expense of convenience. So you could get this Shark Apex, which we really like, at $400, which is actually not a bad price. But if that's too much money, we got a recommendation, which is about half the price.
So this is the Kenmore DU5080 upright vacuum, and one of the reasons we really like it is it has a lot of the features that the Apex and things like the Shark Rotator, which are a little more expensive, have, such as lift up technology where you can actually remove the canister from the main unit of the vacuum and carry it around the house, get under your bed and furniture more easily. In addition to that, they have very similar attachments. This also has a pet tool, a crevice tool, and an upholstery tool, so you get a lot for a lower price.
And it's literally less than half the price of the Apex on Amazon right now.
And a few pounds lighter.
Okay, so now one of the things to consider when you're buying a vacuum is, does it have a HEPA filter? So a HEPA filter filters particles down to 0.3 microns. I've got some
bigger than 0.3 microns
gummy bears
right
and stuff in here because we've been vacuuming up a lot of garbage. A HEPA filter is something that you want in a vacuum that's gonna keep out the dirt and allergens in your house. But not all HEPA filter vacuums are created equal, because some have a proper sealed canister, and so when you're vacuuming, it really does keep all that dust and particles inside the canister. Some of them don't. And with every vacuum that we test, we use our famous smoke test. And of course that's smaller than 0.3 microns, but it's a pretty good indication if a vacuum can keep all the smoke inside the vacuum. We think it's probably going to do a pretty good job of keeping the allergens in your vacuum too. Now, some vacuums also have multi-stage filtration, which is, typically speaking, a pretty good thing. So you might have a HEPA filter inside the canister, and then you might have an additional filter at the exit of the airflow back into the air, so you're keeping really everything in the vacuum. So generally speaking, the more you spend, the more filtration you're gonna get.
Now, there are a couple of downsides with upright vacuums. They do tend to be heavier, a little more cumbersome if you have a lot of stairs in your home. This is something to consider. You will be lifting this around quite a lot, so that can be a bit of an issue.
And that brings us to our next category, which is canister vacuums. A canister vacuum is essentially a canister with a wand and a hose and some different attachments, and they come at a wide variety of price points. At the top end, you can get a Miele for $800, $1,000, $1,200. You don't need to spend that much.
No, we actually discovered you can get away with a pretty affordable vacuum at around $80, $100. We found one called the Bissell Zing, which actually has a pretty high performance rate, very good suction, very good airflow. What I like about it too is it has the retractable cords.
$80 and $1,100 are two extremes, but somewhere in the middle you get the Kenmore 600, which is about $340, and it's got a HEPA filter, it has a wand that comes off. It's actually a really good vacuum that's well rated on Amazon, so that would be something right in the middle. You don't need to spend a ton of money. The next category is stick vacuums, and the reason to get a stick vacuum is because they are really small. You can store them upright in a closet and they're pretty convenient. So you could go with something like the Dyson V10, which is a great vacuum. It's the Animal. I've been using that for a long time. It's really good. It's battery powered, but you can also get something like this Dirt Devil Vibe, which is only about $40. It's corded, but this is great because I use this to clean up kitty litter in the bathroom, and it's super convenient. It just sits in the corner. Yeah, it has a brush roll. If you're looking to save a lot of money, basically a tenth or less of the price of this. Now something in the middle like the Shark HV371 Rocket Pet Pro, I think it's got a terrible name, is around $180, and it gets under furniture really nicely. It's got a really good powerful head. It is corded, and it's a really great convenient stick vacuum that I think is going to do the job for a lot of people at way cheaper price than this. Let's talk about the personal category, the handheld category. So we've got a wide range of things. We have little battery powered things like the Rubot. This also works as a hairdryer. Then we have things that convert like the Dirt Devil, which converts into a handheld. And actually, this is pretty handy and pretty convenient. Of course, it's corded. Then you got things like this Thisworx Car Vacuum, which is also pretty handy, but instead of being battery powered, it works off of the cigarette lighter in your car. This is pretty good.
And then at the very high end of the spectrum, you have something like the Ruvio, which is a $120 masterpiece.
The high end of the spectrum? Or are you talking price or performance?
I would love to say both, but in this case, it is just price. This is $120, probably the most expensive handheld vacuum we have ever purchased. And as far as performance goes, it's pretty run-of-the-mill.
So I think the battery powered ones are, frankly, all of them are just not really worth your money because they have a tiny little canister on top that really doesn't hold a lot of dirt, and these take a long time to charge. And I mean, what are you going to do with this? Like just vacuum your countertop? Just get a sponge. But personally, I like the canister style vacuums for working on my car because you can plug it in, you get a lot of power, and you got a small hose which gets into the nooks and crannies of the back of your car where that cereal has been left for 8 months. I think this is actually the most important part of the video, and it's matching the vacuum that you need for the place that you live. We talk about this a lot. This is a big deal. So I've got a house with a lot of hardwood in it. So my consideration here is going to be probably different than most people who are going to live in a house, an apartment, a condo with a lot of carpet.
Yeah, exactly. So for here, we have a lot of wood surfaces. We like using cordless vacuums like the Dyson or Black & Decker because it is suited to those sort of surfaces. Now, if you have more carpet in your house, maybe you have some shag or medium pile carpet, you may want to consider a more sturdy upright vacuum like the Kenmore we mentioned earlier.
You also want to think about how long the cord is, if you've got pets, if you don't have pets. So you sort of need to figure out like what kind of attachments that you want. I like vacuums with a pet hair tool because I've got pets, and that actually makes a big difference on getting stuff off of little kitty condos, off of couches. Some people might find that a stick vacuum or cordless vacuum is great for just going around day-to-day stuff, but you're not going to be able to vacuum up a 3-bedroom apartment with carpet with a cordless vacuum. It's just not going to happen. So some people like to have a cordless vacuum for quick pickup, and then something like a upright vacuum for big cleaning they're doing every week that never really happens. But hey,
we try.
We try. All right, so it's not my bag baby. We don't use a lot of bagged vacuums around here. That's sort of old school, the canister style. And there is an advantage with those in that they typically have the bag and then you have a HEPA filter on top of that. So you're really keeping the stuff outside of your house, which I think is important, but you do need to replace the bag. And most people just want to empty it more frequently now, but you do run the risk of like putting stuff into your house where with a bag, you can put it in a plastic bag and get rid of it and you're keeping all the dust out of your house. They're just not as popular anymore and you do tend to find them a little bit more in commercial vacuums. I'm totally cool with bagged vacuums. I think they're pretty good. You're gonna spend a little bit more money. Most of the stuff nowadays is bagless. Everybody wants to see what the dirt is they've picked up. So it's really up to you, but the trend is towards bagless right now.
But what about the accessories that come with the vacuums? In some cases like the Dyson, you do get what you pay for. You get quite a few attachments that come with the Dyson. Now, generally speaking, almost every vacuum you're gonna buy, whether it's cordless or upright, comes with usually two basic tools. You get a crevice tool and then you get usually an upholstery tool or something like this brush that attaches onto a wand of some sort. Now, what I really like about the Kenmore that we mentioned earlier is that it actually comes with multiple tools, including a pet tool, which is usually on more expensive vacuums like the Shark Apex, which is $400. You actually get this pet tool for about $150 in the Kenmore vacuum. But you also get a 3-in-1 tool here that has an upholstery tool, a crevice tool, and a dusting brush. So really you—
3-in-1.
3-in-1, it's pretty fancy.
I don't need any more in my life.
Exactly. Let's talk about the fun part, cleaning up after cleaning up.
So you've got to clean your HEPA filters or replace your HEPA filters. It's going to depend on the vacuum cleaner. With the Dyson, for example, I find that it lasts several months and you can wash it, but sometimes after a while, the vacuum won't turn on. So you got to clean your HEPA filter. If you got bagged vacuums, not that big a deal. And sometimes you need to clean out the heads. They just get a bunch of gunk in there too. And I mean, that's it for maintenance, but really you need to think about like how long you're going to keep the vacuum. I had a canister style vacuum from, I think, Kenmore that lasted 20 years. It had a wooden brush roll. It actually did a pretty decent job and the belts used to break on it, and that is sort of a maintenance type thing. So you're gonna have to think about potentially belts, potentially motors that I'm gonna go after a little while, and filters for the most part. Depending on the price of the vacuum, you might just get another one and trash it, or you might want to actually service it. Now, because robot vacuums is such a big, new, expanding category, we're going to cover that in a separate video, and also we're going to cover wet vacs in a different video as well. So really, you need to think about where you live, how much money you got to spend, and how often you like to clean. If you have any questions about vacuums, put them down in the comments below. Let us know what vacuum comparisons you want to see. And you know what? I was looking at our data.
And 98% of you will probably have a better weekend if you subscribe and hit that bell right now.
Thanks for watching.